Hey amigos, thanks for coming in and checking on me. This video is just here about before I get started, that last video where I broke down on the shovel head, that was 100% my fault because I put a new battery in there, like I said on that last video, and well, turns out, stupid me, put my regulator wire on the wrong side of the battery. I mean, I thought it was, because it was a black wire, for some reason subconsciously I was thinking, oh, it must have something to do with negative. But anyway, got it fixed, fired it right back up, ran like a champ, and then within the same 24 hours, now it's peeing all over the floor. Apparently the transmission main seal is leaking. I wouldn't be too surprised if it is all empty now because it's been sitting like that for a couple of weeks. I just have not had the gumption to want to fix it because I just put the primary all back together after getting my mid controls all set up. But it ain't like I don't have the parts to fix it with because they've been sitting here for about a week or so. Oh, and by the way, any of you amigos know what the heck this little piece is right here in the middle? Leave a comment down below. And also, I'm going to get started working on this thing here in the near future. The last trip to Tampa, I developed an oil leak up here, and I got oil dripping down here on the transmission case. I'm not too worried about the base gasket. That's an Evo thing. All my Evos do that. So, but what am I going to do other than fix it? Well, Greg Campbell, if you're still watching this channel, I am going to put that EV13 cam down inside this nose cone right here. While I have the valve covers off, I'm going to pull the push rods out. I even have some adjustable push rods somebody sent me. I think Greg sent those to me, or somebody sent them to me. I don't remember now, but you guys are so kind. But I'm going to put all that back in sooner rather than later because we're going to make another trip down to Tampa for the Forgotten Angels. That's in the works, and that's on the weekend of the 18th, 19th, and 20th, around that time. But what I'm doing right now, and what I have been doing for the past week, and sorry I didn't film this, I just needed time to myself. I needed all concentration to myself. But check this out, I have been working on this thing right here. So what have I been doing? Well, since the last time you guys have seen the Ironhead, I talked about the Kickstarter is like, got something wrong with it. Well, guess what? Check this out. I have an electric start. So that's pretty cool. So I spent a good time trying to figure out how to basically have my cake and eat it too by reusing the same wiring harness that came out of the bike when it was, a stock Ironhead, kind of stock. Anyway, I figured out all my wires. Some of them I didn't figure out. I found some hot wires. I didn't know what in the world they were supposed to do, but most of them pretty much were, pretty obvious what they did. Check this out. I have low beam and I have high beam. Pretty cool, huh? I spent a little time yesterday setting up this two-way switch right here, so I can even turn the lights off if I don't want to run them. Or I just have this key switch right here, which is ignition and, lights if I want them on. As you can see, the lights aren't on. But I can always just leave the switch on like that, so whenever I go to hit the key in the third position, they'll just come on. Oh, and also, Chris England, if you are watching this channel still, I know it's been a couple of years, you sent me that tail light and brake light with the license plate holder. Check it out. Works pretty good. And also today I've been working on my brake light switch. Well, I've got one of those old-timey mechanical switches that I was surprised it still works because it looks kind of decrepit. But that's it right there. This rod goes forward. This spring pulls on this switch right here. And we have brake lights. And I'm just super stoked about that. I mean, we have power to the rear tail light. We have a brake light. We have a headlight with high beam and low beam. There's power to the coil. There's power to the points. I mean, we're wired for sound. I just got to hook up my generator and my regulator. And I don't know if they still work or not, but I'm going to find out on the first test run if that day ever comes. I'm sure it will. I never really mentioned what I was going to do with the Fender, what else I was going to do with it, but obviously since I don't need this tail light right here, I'm going to chop this thing right here just above these holes where the license plate bracket would go. And also I have to figure out what to do about a battery. As you can see, this battery is just kind of in there, but it's not in there because it won't clear the down post and it won't clear the fender. So I'm going to chop the fender here, and I bought some raw materials so that I can make a battery box. I'm thinking I might be able to make a battery box scenario, kind of like what I did with the Tramp. As you can see right there, there's the battery box, and the box is just made out of some angle, and this is just some raw material, some flat bar. I made a strap up here and welded some nuts down here, got a jam nut, got bolts, all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do for that battery right there. I mean, I really thought I sucked at wiring, but I realized that it's not because I suck at wiring, it's just because I don't do it very often. Usually with working on motorcycles, it's always like a wrench, a ratchet, a screwdriver, the occasional hammer, sockets, stuff like that. But I don't do wiring often enough to remember how to do it again, because, like for example, I wired up the Tramp 4 years ago, and as I confessed earlier on, why the motor wouldn't get any spark is because I forgot how I wired it up 4 years ago, but I figured it out. So this is all pretty fresh to me right now. I mean, I got my circuit breakers hooked up, I got my relay stuck up there. At first I was really trying not to do this, you know, put the relay and the circuit breakers right there, because it kind of looks like a couple of tumors or something growing off the fender. But then I realized that's because the bike is, you know, up in the air. So once it's on the ground, you won't even see it. You'd have to like bend over backwards or turn yourself upside down to really get a good look at it. So that doesn't bother me too much. Oh yeah, and don't laugh at my white zip ties. I'm going to replace them. That's just all I had. I just needed to use that to get an idea how I was going to suspend my wires up against the frame, or tighten them against the frame, whatever the verbiage is for that. But got my oil tank in there. Oh, and that reminds me, I just have to get the, figure out how to route my oil lines on this bike. That's going to be interesting. It shouldn't be too bad, but I don't know. We're going to see. And got my CV carburetor hooked up to it. This is the carburetor that came off of the Tramp. This actually ran on this motor at one time when I was just fooling around, and I know it works. It has to work. Then again, these things have an attitude of their own. And what else did I do? Oh, check this out. I don't know if you'll notice a difference in the stance, but I put the stock tubes, not really the stock tubes, but the stock length of tubes. These are 35 millimeter tubes. I got them from Kenny, and they are freshly rebuilt too. They haven't been used yet, but it makes the front end a lot more stable than the long front end that was on there. I still have that front end, plus the tubes on that front end was so corroded. There's lots of pitting on them and stuff like that. But anyway, whenever I would turn the wheel and the steering stop would hit the frame, the wheel would keep going another 1/8 of an inch or so. But that's a lot better. I mean, it looks like it flows evenly from front to back. I'm going to have to find a front brake line for this master cylinder, because it has actually of course this isn't new technology, but the brake caliper that came on the 76, you know, they're kind of, I don't know. The one I had was all froze up anyway, so it wasn't any good. I mean, it could have been good, but this is a fresh caliper. So I have a bunch of brake lines. I just have to find one that'll fit it just right. Oh yeah, and I put these rusty rabbit ear handlebars on here, mostly because I robbed it of its risers so that I can put it on the shovel head. But after I did that, I just decided to put these on here. I'm going to clean these up eventually. I would love to have them cleared also, you know, like have that bare metal look. I mean, that would really set it off. Bare metal here, bare metal there, bare metal sissy bar. I mean, it would make it look really good, because I think it would flow well with the already existing colors that's on the bike. I got some highway bar brackets. I just got to get some highway pegs to go on there. In fact, I think I have some, but I don't really like them because, I don't know. But they're the female kind, meaning that the bar goes in the peg rather than the peg slipping inside a clevis of a typical highway bar. But that's just old stuff. And what else have I got to do? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Talking about oil lines and stuff. I don't know how I'm going to get away with this without fabbing anything, but I got this oil cooler that actually came on the original frame. I would like to run this oil cooler. I also have an oil filter setup, you know, that is for this bike, that would mount on the bottom motor mounts. And the reason I'm doing that is because the original oil filter sat inside the original oil tank. So this one doesn't have that kind of tank. I couldn't use that tank. I thought this was going to be an easy project, because on this engine, the oil tank, the battery box, all mounted to the motor, and I thought it was going to be like just a matter of pulling everything out and sticking it in that frame right there. But Silly me, didn't account for new geometry of the frame. So that kept me from using the, that stuff. At least the engine fit in there, right? I mean, I could not even, I couldn't even use my original brakes or shifters because this frame, in a previous video, like a couple of years ago, I'll leave that link right up there, how I said that I thought that this frame was meant for a 57 to 76. And it turns out it's not. It's a 57 to 74, just before left-hand shift came out. So, like I said, I left that link up there. You guys go check that out and hear my explanation why I couldn't use my original controls. Because that is a fact. I had this bike converted over to right-hand shift and left-hand brake. Which, 74 and 75 was lousy technology for left-hand shift on Sportsters, because going into first gear was like a job because there's just too many linkages involved. But this, it's like direct contact with your equipment. So that concludes it. I guess I know you guys would like to hear from me, and like I said, I did not film any of this because I really needed all of my concentration on putting this together and getting it like a running motorcycle. And oh yeah, I know what else I was going to tell you is that's not going to be the final color of that bike, that blue. I'm going to have it something else, but I'm not quite sure. I kind of want to put it as like one of the stock colors of 1976 because this is a 76 motor. So I'm thinking like the AMF logo with the pinstripes on the side of the tank with whatever color they offered those bikes back in that day. I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyway, I guess I'm just going to leave it with you guys like this. And as always, well, before I go through that, I just want to tell you guys, thank you for being there, all right? And you guys keep the rubber side down, and you be good to yourselves. Thanks a lot.